Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm Mrs. Samuels Bailey from School of Nursing, and I will be delivering my presentation as it relates to my PhD studies that I'm undertaking presently. It has to do with transitioning of newly qualified staff into the workforce environment. And in particular, I'll be looking at newly qualified midwives, okay? All right, based on the literature review, we saw that there's a major problem as it relates to the transitioning of newly qualified midwives or specialist nurses within the workforce. And according to Croft et al., it shows that newly qualified staff, it impacts on the retention and also the attrition rate. Here in Jamaica, it was also found that there was a grave shortage as it relates to newly qualified staff, and it was due to migration. Sometimes there is even lateral migration where they don't go overseas, but they go from the hospital within the community setting. And also from personal communication, it was found that at least some hospitals were operating with at least 50% less than the cadre of staff that they were expecting. Further background studies show that if newly qualified staff has a problem in transitioning into the workforce, then it can cause grave problems as well. And they experience something which is called reality shock. Even you as students, I can see students in the audience, you too have undergone some period of transition wherein you leave, even if it was from elementary school to high school or from high school to tertiary institution. The same applies in the professional work as well. According to Fenwick et al. And also Avis et al., these were studies conducted in the UK, and it was found too that these newly qualified staff sometimes were thrown into the deep end, given horrendous cases. In the case of newly qualified midwives, sometimes they have to look after high-risk cases, even though they've just newly qualified. And things like these, being faced with such challenges, poses a problem, and again, it can impact on the attrition rate of midwives. Further studies also show that they're expected, as soon as they come out of their nurse's uniform or midwifery uniform, then they're expected to perform as if they were in the workforce a long time ago, right? So meaning they have to make decisions on their own with the absence of a mentor, even a preceptor. Hence, the purpose of my study is to explore the experiences of the newly qualified midwives within their first year of practice here in Jamaica, upon qualifying. And in particular, I'll be looking at, in terms of my objective, some of the factors that can either enhance or inhibit their transition during this critical time of their working lives. From the research of the literature, there were certain gaps that were identified, and it shows that further research was recommended as it relates to newly qualified midwives and the environments in which they work. Because from out of the study, it shows that some midwives or even other specialist nurses experience transition in a different way, because the environment does impact on their experiences. Another thing that was found from the literature gap was that there was no literature as it relates to Jamaica or even its Caribbean counterparts. There was nothing there. So hence why this study was needed. The theory that I'm using to underpin my study, it relates to Boychot-Dubcher. This lady, she dealt with the transition theory. And in her theory, she dealt with 3 stages, that of being, doing, and knowing. And in her theory, she found that newly qualified midwives, they do undergo physical, intellectual, and emotional developmental changes, and this impacts too on their self-confidence. Data collection has already started since March, and it's face-to-face interviews by audio recording. Implications from my study is that from this study, it will inform health care facilities here in Jamaica and help in the assistance of the retention of staff, midwives, and also other specialist nurses that we see that, they're migrating now. Also, persons who work within midwifery education, administrative staff, the findings will be useful to them and also to policymakers as well. And not only to us here in Jamaica globally, but also to our Caribbean neighbors and even other countries on a global scale. Thank you.